I'm gonna be honest, Bleach right now has shocked the world and has me feeling multiple different emotions. On one side of things, I'm excited, happy, hype. In general, I can't wait to talk about this Bleach latest episode, the first episode of Core 3, and the 20th anniversary animation special that they released at the same time. But then on the flip side of things, I ain't gonna lie, I'm a little upset, I'm a little bit angry, and we're gonna dive into that as well, because right now, Bleach got the world in a stronghold. The 1,000-year blood war, Studio Pierrot knows what they're doing, because when you can ignite multiple emotions all within one, you know you're doing your job. So let's talk a little bit of that Bleach 1,000-year blood war greatness. First off, let's talk about that 20th anniversary special that they released, the animation piece. It was about 2 minutes long. Mainly it was 1 minute of animation and then a second minute of credits of everybody that participated in putting that together. It's similar to when they released that special of Naruto for the anniversary of the anime, and just in general, that was freaking brilliant. The art and animation looked great of them reanimating classic scenes from Naruto, and they did the same thing with Bleach, but with the style of the 1,000-year blood wars art and animation, and it just made many fans, the same way Naruto fans were going crazy screaming, "Oh my god, remake Naruto in that animation." They made me, at the very least, and I'm sure a lot of fans as well, feel the same with that animation special, because oh my gosh, seeing some of those classic scenes from the very beginning, from Ichigo versus Grimmjow, a lot of Rukia stuff, just classic Ichigo in general, it looked so freaking fire and made me think like, oh, I wish it was a lot more simpler to just say, yeah, reanimate all of Bleach, because yeah, that's definitely possible, sure, but there's a lot more that goes into it. Of course, a production schedule, of course, all of the other series on Studio Pierrot's roster is not as easy as just greenlighting, yeah, we're gonna do 200 episodes of Bleach or 300 episodes of Bleach, which realistically it would be way less than the original 366 episodes once you remove a ton of filler. But regardless, that's a tall order, and I'm sure maybe down the road it would be a possibility, but for the foreseeable future, I'd imagine they're just going to be focusing in on the 1,000-year blood war, and we can at the very least appreciate that they did this little special and what it could be. If one day they ever decided to reanimate Bleach, it would be freaking phenomenal, because this special just looked incredible. But again, I wouldn't hold your breath waiting for this to happen, because we're probably a long ways off from them putting such a big investment financially, time-wise, and in general with their staff to make something like that, because that's a tall order. Sure, they could do a little minute montage of epic moments or whatnot, but to create that as a full-blown thing, yeah, that'll probably take a while. Now, onward to the first episode of Core 3 of Bleach's 1,000-year blood war. Hands down, bar none, this episode was an incredible and impactful way to kick things off, returning to Bleach's anime, and there's just so much to talk about, because on one side of things, critically speaking, and just in general talking about it as a whole, the episode was freaking phenomenal, insane. It was beautifully done. The art in just so many different places was like, oh my gosh. The animation was just like, oh my gosh. Between the battle of Squad Zero versus Box Elites, it was just like, okay, let's go, because we pick up from where we last left off, where last time Squad Zero was kind of, I don't want to say struggling, but they wasn't really getting the results that you would have expected of Squad Zero against anybody, because throughout the whole entirety of Bleach, we've always just heard whispers and legends of Squad Zero and how incredibly epic they are, and they were once, you know, Shinigami that they just elevated to be so incredible that they went up to the Soul Palace and all of these things. To finally see this team and how strong they are and whatnot, initially you're gonna think like, wow, you would assume that just, oh my gosh, they're about to clean house and ain't nobody gonna be able to stop them, even if we have this uprising of this Quincy King and his squad or whatnot. Me personally, I was thinking to myself, yo, Squad Zero ain't taking no L's, none, zero. And that's where a little bit of the, I don't want to say disappointment, because again, I read the manga, but maybe just my dissatisfaction of how these fights turned out, with Senjumaru versus Uryu and some of Squad Zero, and of course Ichibee versus Yhwach, however you want to pronounce his name. I'm still struggling with that, because I'm gonna be honest with you, just strictly speaking as a fan, putting the criticisms and all that aside, I wanted Squad Zero to clean box clock. I wanted to see them absolutely dominate. I felt like they should have dominated, especially when Senjumaru had that combination of 3 and 1 to make sure that they really finally take fake dudes out. I was just like, come on, son, what are we doing here? And likewise with Ichibee, I mean, homie just was on another level of greatness between him activating his Bankai, even giving a little bit of the lore that prior to them being called Bankai, they had this whole other name. Bankai is more of a modernized version of calling their ultimate techniques. He stripped Bach of his name, and then in this one he made it that essentially all blackness in the world is under his control, is his. And he even gave Bach a new name after stripping him of his name, Yhwach. He's like, yo, you Black Ant now. It was just like, bruh, this is the intensity and the epicness that I expected to see from Squad Zero. So admittedly, as a fan, I was a bit disappointed when I saw both of them take L's against Bach and his elite squad, but more so even especially when Uryu got the W against Senjumaru. That one, I ain't gonna lie, that had me a little bit like, huh? Because I totally get that Uryu has been powered up by Bach. He had the cup of his, whatever the case may be, like, he's a lot more stronger now than he's ever been. But I still feel like, so Uryu powered up took out one of Squad Zero. I don't know, as a fan of Squad Zero and just in general as somebody that is a pretty big Bleach fan, I was just a bit disappointed from that regard of just like, bro, it's Squad Zero. But taking my fanboying out of Squad Zero and putting it to the side, man, oh man, these battles just looked grandiose. I can't stress enough when Ichibee used his Bankai and the brush and was just throwing all the black ink everywhere. It just looked freaking phenomenal. And honestly, when Bach came with the whole thing of the 9 years, 900 years, essentially the resurrection of Bach, and how at this very moment it's what saved him essentially and got rid of all of the Bankai ink that was on him and restored his name from Black Ant to being Yhwach. It was like, huh, in the nick of time, right? Just right when it needed to happen, boom, he regained his eyes, and seeing Bach's updated visual with the like 3 pupils in his eyes, it was just madness. It was chaos. It was incredible. It was honestly greatness. And while yes, I do have my gripes in terms of I wanted to see Squad Zero win, ultimately the way everything was done was great. The choreography, the action, the intensity, just in general, it was like, this is what you come to Bleach's 1,000-year blood war to see. This is what you expect. You want to see just absolute insanity. And for the last piece of my fanboying of Squad Zero, I will say that ultimately, personally, as a fan of them, I think they would have won if it wasn't for plot protection, and ultimately, yeah, Ichigo gotta be the one to do something, you dig? There was also a couple other moments in the episode that were very noteworthy. For example, I believe Kyoraku was headed downward and we see somebody strapped to a chair, which, let's keep it real, you know who that is in the chair with all the binds around him. We saw him last at the end of his arc, because I'm pretty sure that Sosuke Aizen there, which I'm expecting to see a heck of a lot more moving forward, because obviously the situation is very dire, despite the fact that yes, Ichibee is still alive, because you can't kill greatness, bro. You can't take a goat down like that. He's been revived, but ultimately it will take way too long for his powers to be restored, and by the time that happens, it will be over, because essentially Bach has ascended to the Soul King's palace and essentially approaches the Soul King. And this is where it got very heavy for me, and I was just like, fam, what the heck? Because yes, I read the manga ways back, but a lot of this stuff I just don't remember anymore. Because then Bach drops a bombshell even further. It's like, bro, this episode was just hands down, bar none, every other second a shocker or a surprise. Because he pierces through the Soul King and drops the reveal that apparently the Soul King is Yhwach's father. I know many Bleach fans right now, minds are just completely blown, like, what? Honestly, it was just a crazy moment, and just in general, yet again, established why Bleach right now is just absolutely on fire. The new opening was pretty awesome as well. Art and animation was great. Song was pretty dope. In general, just, I can't say nothing other than, like, sure, as far as getting into it, into the fan wars, yes, I love Squad Zero, but the episode felt just brilliantly done. Every part of it, from the aesthetics to the story to the combat. I can't stress enough that Studio Pierrot is having a slam dunk grand slam of a time putting this thing together, because this is what battle shonen anime should look like and feel like moving forward. Like, even as somebody that read the manga way back in the day, I'm still at the edge of my seat like, oh my god, this is crazy. Let me know what you guys thought about the episode. How did you feel? What did you think about the 20th anniversary animation? Do you think one day we'll get a Bleach anime remake in that style? Your overall thoughts and expectations. That's all I have for this one. I'm Tim. As always, people, have an awesome day. Subscribe and hit that bell to get more. Thank you so much.
God, can you tell me? I really wanna know. God, can you tell me? I really wanna know.